chapter 7, verse 24. From there he arose and went away to the region of Tyre and Sidon, and he entered a house and did not want anyone to know, yet he could not be hidden. But immediately a woman whose little daughter had an unclean spirit heard of him, and came and fell down at his feet. Now the woman was a Gentile, a Syrophoenician by birth, and she begged him to cast the demon out of her daughter. And he said to her, "Let the children be fed first. It's not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." But she answered him, "Yes, Lord, yet even the dogs under the table eat the children's crumbs." And he said to her, "For this statement you may go your way. The demon has left your daughter." And she went home and found the child lying in bed, and the demon gone. Then he returned from the region of Tyre and went through Sidon to the Sea of Galilee and the region of the Decapolis. They brought to him a man who was deaf and had a speech impediment, and they begged him to lay his hand on him. And taking him aside from the crowd privately, he put his fingers into his ears, and after spitting, touched his tongue. And looking up to heaven, he sighed and said to him, "Ephphatha," that is, "be open." And his ears were opened, his tongue was released, and he spoke plainly. And Jesus charged them to tell no one. But the more he charged them, the more zealously they proclaimed it. They were astonished beyond measure, saying, "He has done all things well. He even makes the deaf hear and the mute speak." A couple more healings. And interestingly enough, here we have a Gentile being healed. This woman who comes to Jesus and is begging. And he makes an interesting comment, Jesus does. "Let the children be fed first, for it's not right to take the children's bread and throw it to the dogs." And you're like, he's calling her a dog? Like, what is going on? And so, no, he's not. And it has to do with the relationships between the Gentiles and Jews, and his call, ministry first to the Jew, but God's heart for all people. Right? God doesn't want any to perish or to suffer. And so the bottom line of all this is the faith of the Syrophoenician woman. Not her ethnicity, but it's that she had faith that Jesus could do what no one else could do. And so Jesus healed her. And then they come to this deaf man and mute, and he does strange things, right? Putting his fingers in his ears, spitting, speaking, and he could hear and spoke plainly. And the phrase that I want to just end with or focus on really is, "He has done all things well." They were astonished because they recognize he does all things well. He makes the blind see, the deaf hear, the mute speak. What would it look like if we took everything to the Lord? Because he does all things well. If that was the pattern of our life, of faith that we had, like this Syrophoenician woman who is not welcome in a Jewish context, to do all things well, or to take it to the one who does all things well. We make the mistake, I think, sometimes when we try to figure things out on our own. And yet, having done that, as we all do, if at a certain point you realize, I can't figure it out, I can't fix it, so to speak, and then you turn to Jesus, well, that's better than not turning to him, right? Take your problems, take your situations to the one who does all things well, Jesus. Mark continues to give us these snapshots of moments of real life, real healings, real impact, real faith. So we look at Jesus not just as a good guy, not just as a great teacher, all that he was, but as God himself in the flesh. That's the heart, that's the reason. And so when you read these kind of stories, you go, why doesn't that happen now? That's the wrong question. The right question is, who is Jesus? And then, am I exhibiting and living a life of faith like this Gentile? Am I bringing others to Jesus like these friends? Because he's the one who does all things well. We don't, but he does. Till next time, I'm going to buy the house.